Hey everyone, it's Marguerite here. I'm here with Helen Knight of Helen Knight Consulting. She provides fractional CIO services to nonprofits, and she's also the president of CIO Can in Calgary. And so today we're going to be discussing how we worked with the CIO Association of Canada to go from no strategy with working with existing members to upsell them into new opportunities to a strategy where they got 16 new sales within approximately 45 days. So, but before I do that, I want to make sure that we hear it directly from Helen. So why don't you introduce yourself and a little bit about the work that you do within the CIO Association of Canada, specifically in Calgary, or even just for this project, either way.
Sure, you bet. Hello. Independently, I am a consultant that works with nonprofits focused on using technology to enable their missions and have them deliver services more efficiently and effectively. And in my spare time, as the president of the Calgary chapter of the CIO Association, I lead a board of about 15 people, membership of about 50. In Calgary, we have a lot of events, thought leadership, knowledge sharing. It's a close group where we do problem solving together, and we're a piece of one of 7 chapters nationwide with similar interests. And then we have a national perspective where we get to bring in great thought leaders and speakers and have some national programming as well.
Fantastic. So let's go back to the beginning before we started working together. How were you getting more members into the association in particular, just generally speaking?
The new members came in the same way that I did. I was at a conference that someone else organized, another association. There were 100 CIOs in the room. I was approached by one CIO who happened to be a board member of the Calgary chapter, talked to me about the great opportunities. It sounded amazing. Took me a little while to get my organization, being a nonprofit, to fund membership. Joined up. That is how we worked face-to-face at events when we met somebody that seemed interested, excited, and wanted to learn more about how they could expand their influence as a senior technology leader. We would talk to them. So when the pandemic hit in March, we not only lost that ability to add members, but we also were losing members because of the fiscal impact and layoffs, things like that. So we were definitely had no more channel to receive members, and we were losing members out the back door simply because in Calgary, it's a difficult economic market and some CIOs were losing their roles.
So before we started working together, how were you thinking that you would solve this problem?
The Calgary board got together, worked through a few different things. We talked about accessing people on LinkedIn. We started writing a newsletter that we sent out to our membership, encouraging them to, we're talking about the value proposition of joining the membership. We wrote up a template, a repeatable email template that we could use and personalize a little bit. But we're kind of a group of people with great ideas who really enjoy being together and hanging out. And sometimes our delivery and follow through isn't the best. So although we did eventually get an email, I'm not sure it actually went out to anybody.
Okay.
We just talked about the problem.
Okay. So what were you, okay. Well, I think you answered this question about the frustrations perhaps of working with this. And I know we've had many conversations of, when you are working within this environment where people, they're very busy and maybe it's not their primary skill set. What would you say is the number one frustration about trying to do this marketing that's a little different than the way that you were doing it before?
I don't pay any of my board members. They're all volunteers, just like I am. And I think that when you're a volunteer, even though you care greatly about the outcome, you file your deliverables in a different part of your brain. I also have some long-term board members who maybe feel like having conversations or meetings about topics is the same thing as deliverables and outcomes. So I only became president in June. I'd been vice president before that. We didn't pivot to the new environment. We were used to 2 face-to-face events every month. We weren't effectively pivoting. We sure were having some great calls, but there wasn't measurable outcomes, actions. I had to build all of those pieces in. It was a challenge because also I still want to make sure that it's fun and people want to come to the meetings because, again, I don't pay them. But in terms of the deliverables, it's been challenging because the people that pay us are the people that we do the priority work for. So even if I promise to do something for you as a volunteer, and I fully intend to, if something happens to my organization, I will break that promise and meet my organization's need instead. And that applies to all of us. And we were in really challenging times for senior technology leaders because of the incredible demand for technical facilitation of a brand new remote workforce everywhere. So we weren't doing things. We weren't accomplishing anything.
Some of the work that we started doing together was to take a look at a strategy that would leverage your existing members as a way to get access to new members, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we talked about that strategy, what piqued your interest in that approach? Like getting referrals from your existing clients, essentially.
I think it was that we were multiplying the value proposition. So it wasn't marketing as much as recognizing that we were all trapped in our homes, feeling disconnected, we've lost our normal social, intellectual, thought leadership connections. So I knew that the senior leaders who reported to the CIO members were probably feeling much the same. And if 5 different organizations are solving the same problem, shouldn't we benefit from their collective intelligence and have them solve that problem together? So it was it felt like the need in the community that not only were the leaders focusing on solving these new demands that were completely unprecedented, but the people that report to us were struggling just as much with completely new demands. And we thought, why wouldn't we extend our value proposition to them who need just as much virtual connection as we do?
That's right. And, it was also, it made complete sense, obviously, to expand the network. How did you find working with your existing members? Did that help shorten the sales cycle? Did it make an impact as opposed to going after new members? What would you say?
So much easier.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been people that we've talked to about joining for a couple of years, and I've sent invoices to try to make it easier for them to join up. But when we targeted the existing members who already understood the value proposition that they were benefiting from and the new value proposition they were getting in the pandemic, it was such an easy conversation to extend that offering to their direct reports. It was almost selling something intangible that was already understood. So you didn't need to articulate, even though we put all that work into marketing, saying it, well and carefully and respectfully.
That's right.
It was already known. So everybody already had a reason that they valued being a member and understood that they would be able to multiply that membership, the value, by giving it to their direct reports and take some load off them because they were getting a lot of calls from their direct reports, getting a level of support, asking for a level of support they couldn't give.
Right. So, and what I found really interesting, and I'd love for you to speak to this, is some of the surprising outcomes from working within your existing members, that they not only referred people who you thought they would refer, but they also expanded that. So once they got thinking about it, right, once we started making it easy for them to think about how to refer people into the organization, what did you find happened?
They thought about new people. I mean, we'd been hitting the drum about new members for years. That's exactly how the organization grew. But something about talking to members about the people that they already knew that were already reporting to them made them think about people that had reported to them in the past, associates that they knew that had moved on to other organizations. It just expanded the circle of reach so much. It got in their heads about really trying to, I do appreciate this value and I do want to extend it. So we thought we'd only get their direct reports. They actually extended it to all sorts of new senior leaders that we had never heard of.
Awesome. So tell me, what in this whole process, I mean, these were your existing members, so you knew who they were, obviously. What was the biggest frustration in trying to go out to them that you found?
Uh,
and
I'm
and the biggest
sorry.
learning. Yeah, no, no,
The
no.
biggest in the array that we did it originally,
Yeah,
or
the
so,
way that we did it. Well, as we were going out to them, just trying to go, outreach to them.
mm,
Um, what is the one thing, or maybe I should phrase it this way? What's the biggest thing that we learned about
mm,
asking for referrals from our existing members?
yeah.
What's the one thing that you would say we would do again that was our biggest learning?
Sure. We learned that they are very, very busy and that they have very jam-packed schedules,
Yeah.
and providing a quick and easy link, an option to instantly schedule something at their convenience, or telling them a time that you were going to contact them in the future, was a painless, instant way to get directly into their calendar. So when we were, you could play telephone tag with a senior leader forever, or you can send them an email that contains a link that they can quickly schedule themselves, and they do actually respond to it. And it's only when you're in their calendar and having that conversation that it turns into a sale. You can't engage them through telephone tag to bring them to sale. You can't do it just through email. It's a combination of factors with this busy audience, and we found the right recipe.
That's awesome. So good. Okay, so tell me, what was the result after all of this, and how long did it take approximately? I know we said it was around 45 days, but with the
In 6
preparation.
weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was preparation. We had to refine the value proposition, figure out, are we offering special events, things like that. So there was some pre-work, definitely. But from the moment that we started till the end, 6 weeks, 16 members, and we have probably 60 warm leads out there that I want to cycle back to as well, because as it was a busy time, the people that we were able to get their attention for, we had great results, those 16. But I know that following this same process, now that it's spring, different season, hit them again, there's definitely, we have the winning formula. So the only remaining piece was time. Sometimes people just don't have the budget, don't have the cycles. And so I believe that doing the exact same process a second time will get double the results.
Absolutely. I would agree with you. And we also talked about following up with those leads, because not everybody will buy today, right? There's an ongoing process here, but just to get an immediate 16 within that short period of time is really phenomenal. I think that's amazing. It's the power of asking for referrals, really, at the end of the day. It makes a big difference, right? Now, when we were starting to work together, what was it that worked really well with working with our company here?
The processes were scientific and clear frameworks. It was evidence driven. Sometimes when I'm in workshops where we're trying to solve a problem, it feels like the facilitator is inventing things as you go along. This looked really established, clear. There were methodologies that had been tried and tested to make the right decisions. So we identified 6 different ways through brainstorming. We voted for them in a really logical and balanced approach that drove out not what the brainstorming should have driven out, but what the true collective intelligence of the group was. So I really learned a lot about seeing the application of the different frameworks and the approach to get, how do you get a group of 15, 20 people to agree on 2 things when there's 50 things you could do? I saw real time that it was, that there was a scientific process to make people feel engaged, collaborative, participative, and get an answer at the end of the day. And that I have been in those rooms less time than I've been in the room that doesn't get an answer.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited. Thank you for that. Who do you think that this type of approach it would be good for? What kind of organization would really benefit from this?
I'd say anyone who's failing to get traction. They know that they have a big problem, and they haven't found ways to solve it before. You don't even need to all have the same level of interest, and you certainly don't need to all have the same solution in mind. It's that when you have a group that can begin to agree that there's a problem and it needs a different approach to solve that. Doing the same thing that we've done in the future, be it because of a new global event or a new business threat, it would just be a great fit to any time when you're pretty clear that what you've done before you can't do tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you. So what would you say, and we're almost done, so what would you say is your number one piece of advice for organizations that are looking to go through this process, like they're in a process where they're thinking about what is their next step, how do they get to a result that they're looking for? And in particular, in this case, how do they transition from the typical way that they may go out to market, which is usually by offline, whatever it is, trade shows, conferences, et cetera, in-person networking, to an online method? What would be your number one piece of advice for them?
It would be partner with subject matter experts that can get you through the decision-making process and defining and prioritizing all the different things that you can go after or ways that you can solve it. Because the subject matter experts that are trying to make that decision are probably experts on something completely different. So partnering, there's no shortcuts to success when you have to pivot your business model. So finding a partner who has domain expertise in driving decisions in challenging environments with challenging people with different beliefs, that pays dividends. I imagine if we didn't partner with your organization, we would still be in that Teams meeting with no resolution to this day.
Wow. I hope that's not the case, but it might have been. So tell us, if people want to find out more about your business or about the CIO Can, how can they find you?
Sure. So 𝗃𝗏𝗿𝗃𝗏𝙃𝗏𝗃 has chapters across Canada, and we'd love to hear from you. There's some great events coming up, as well as an annual conference called Pure Forum. And for Helen Knight Consulting, you can find me on LinkedIn. And I also run a website called techforsocialgood.ca. It's focused at nonprofits, helping them to demystify the application of technology to advance their mission more effectively. So I'd love to hear from you from either of those ways.
Awesome. So thanks, Helen. And I hope people do take you up on that. So I just want to say thank you. And goodbye, everyone who was listening today. So I hope you got some value out of it. And I very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much.